The Kansas City Chiefs currently own 12 selections in the NFL draft. We're going to tell you how they could actually pick them all. Welcome to Locked On Chiefs.
From the land of the free and the home of the Chiefs, this is the Locked On Chiefs podcast.
Welcome back, friends and neighbors. We appreciate you joining us. This is Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day and for free on every platform available, including YouTube and all the audio platforms. If you are on YouTube, make sure you like, sub, and hit that bell. That always helps us. And we look forward to this being your first listen. For your second listen, maybe consider checking out the draft show. Do a lot of work over there. We very much appreciate it. I'm Ryan Tracy, the founder of Rogue Analytics and Performance Consulting, home of the Athletic Matrix and the Athletic Matrix Draft Guide, which should be out this week, knock on wood, if everything goes correctly. A lot of work in our future, but a lot of work today as well.
You act like the NFL draft is coming close or something. Is there something coming on in the next couple of weeks?
What an idea. I will be live
I know,
on
right?
all the Locked On streaming, right? You guys can watch that on anything, Roku, all the streaming services that you can find your Tegna feeds, as well as the home Locked On NFL webpage here on YouTube, if you happen to be watching us right now.
Yeah, and my name is Chris Clark. I am the founder of Chiefs Corner. As you can see down below under Ryan, it says KC Chiefs Corner. That's where you can go to find all my work. Talking a lot about the salary cap right now and getting into the cost of all the different positions. Defensive tackle came out today. I thought there was a lot of interesting information in that. Chris Jones is the number one DT in football when it comes to cap hits in 2022 and 2023 as it sits.
So, yeah. And yet, there's room to add more players to this roster. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with Chris and the D-line?
No, I don't want to start D-line. I want to start where everybody generally is going to start, and I will just say QBs. So let's just start there. What we're going to do, what we're setting this up for is I've had a lot of people tell me I've been doing a lot of mock drafts on Chiefs Corner on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. The Twitter handle is listed underneath my name. But I've had a lot of people tell me there's no way we can add 12 rookies to this team. I would argue that you could easily add 12 rookies to this team, and that's what we're going to go through today. We're going to look at all the different positions on this team that could be open for replacements and people that could be better than what we have. So let's go ahead and start at QB. Obviously, they have Patrick Mahomes. They're not going to be drafting a QB. And I really don't think they're going to even be drafting necessarily a backup QB because of Chad Henne. Could they get another rookie as like a flyer type guy? Possibly.
They do like the concept of always drafting a rookie. Just see what you got, see what you can develop. So this class is a little thin.
Yeah, especially at the back end. So I have to wonder. I don't think that was going to count, but let's just write it down as one for right now. So running backs.
Yes, I like them.
Obviously, we don't need any more fullbacks. That position's full.
Burton's got it locked down.
Yeah. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Rojo and Derek Gore. I think those three positions. I think those are all pretty much set. I don't see them improving on those. Though I will say I do think that it is possible they take another running back this year. I'm not saying early. I'm not saying it has to be even in the first 3 rounds, but it wouldn't shock me for them to take one later.
They have 3 7th-round picks. Yes, they can easily take one. And there were times last year that they carried 4 on the roster due to whatever aggravation of injury there was. You always have to account for that. So it's definitely within the realm of possibility that either a late-round draft pick or even a UDFA, because I think there's enough quality in the running back class. No one should be drafted before the 4th round. There could be a lot of guys that actually don't even get drafted that can make your roster.
Yeah, and I want to throw this out there as well. I know a lot of people have been saying we shouldn't be trading back. We should take the higher quality player. I'm going to sit here and tell you I've been doing enough mock drafts. I don't know that they're going to have somebody that they think is worth a first-round pick available when they pick at 29 and 30. That's why I keep doing trade backs, seeing who's available. It just doesn't fit what Kansas City is needing. I do think, however, with those three 7th-round picks that they have, they could use those to move up in different rounds, and they can trade them away if they need to. So that's why trading back works for me. Wide receiver room, what do they have? I mean, they carry 6. You can guarantee MVS, you can guarantee Juju, and you can guarantee Hartman. Beyond that,
Jerice Fountain, Josh Gordon.
Right.
A lot of question marks. So, yes, they could easily add 2, in my opinion. So we had 1 running back, right? We're saying there's 1 slot left for that you could add and reasonably get away with.
Right. QB running back is 1, wide receiver 2. Wouldn't shock me if really they go 3. If somebody is sitting there in the 7th round, a developmental guy that they like.
Okay, yeah.
Or undrafted. I mean, there. Who knows who's going to be available? This appears to be a very good or a very deep wide receiver class. The top end talent isn't there.
Well, and here's the really interesting thing for me. We've heard that they have some interest in Sky Moore, right? Like he should be a day 2 pick. Calvin Austin is likely a day 2 pick, right? Let's see who else. Christian Watson should be a day 2 pick. High on day 2, but he should be a day 2 pick. That's just like 5 of the top 10 athletic matrix.
Who's the Texas Tech guy?
See, you're going to make me butcher his name, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Why do you do that to me?
Because I wasn't going to try to.
Uza Kanma. I don't have enough of his metrics to tell you exactly what he is athletically yet, but he's one of a number of interesting guys like Tyquan Thornton you can get on day 3. Kevin Austin you can get on day 3. These are, again, not necessarily just straight line athletes, but guys in the top 10 in the athletic matrix that you can get all the way down into late on day 3, and maybe even some that slip off of that are very interesting as well. So this class has some athleticism all the way through it.
And to be clear, the other reason I say it's possible if they look at 3 wide receivers is because MVS is on a 3-year deal, although it really could be a 1-year deal if it doesn't go very well. And Juju's on a 1-year deal. This is McCole Hardman's contract year. They could possibly have no wide receivers going into 2023.
Yeah. And that is a scary proposition that I would not bet on being the case. But if I was going to bet on it, I would lay that money down at BetOnline because that's your number 1 source for all your betting stats, needs, podcasts, all the info, all the league reviews, all the stuff that you need to make sense with your money before you lay it on the line, whether it's playoffs, whether it's, golf tournaments, whether it's now this new major league season, the hockey playoffs are in full swing, and there's all the draft props that you want to get into about who's going to fall where and what that wagering is going to look like. You can get all that information, including esports and all kinds of live betting over at BetOnline where the game starts. So we've got 4 spots we've talked about so far?
Yep, let's jump into tight end.
Okay.
So tight end is interesting. You have a Y and you have Blake Bell. You have an H-back type in Noah Gray.
Mm-hmm.
You have a flex, obviously, in Kelsey, and I would say that you'd probably argue that Fortson's a flex too.
Flexing. Absolutely.
Yeah. So at that, you're looking at a situation where I will say this: it's questionable whether or not Fortson will be back this year. I think he got hurt early enough that he should be able to play at some point. But is he going to be available for the start of the season, and is he going to look the same? That's the big question. So the bigger question that I have, though, is Fortson's 27, which doesn't seem like is right, but he was undrafted free agent in 2019. So he is 27 years old. So if they're going to look to add, I look for them to maybe add a flex tight end because that's a position that they don't really have. Yes, they have Travis Kelce, but they're going to need somebody to replace him eventually at some point.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that you're wrong. And let me pull up this name because I want to get it out there now for all you Chiefs fans, because I don't think I've put this out any other place. Connor Tanner or Tanner Connor. I'm going to have to double check that. Idaho State. I'm just going to put it out there. If you want a flex guy, if you want a guy late on day 3, then maybe could be the next Jody Fortson. I don't know. There's upside, folks. There's lots of upside.
Fair enough. But when you're looking at tight ends, they already have an H-back type in Noah Gray, so don't expect them to look at that type. I really don't see a reason why they would go and spend a pick on a Y-type tight end. I don't think there's value there in this offense when you have a guy like Blake Bell, so I don't think that that'll be something they look at. So that's one. So right now, in the positional groups that we think the Chiefs are already pretty much set at in a lot of ways, there's potentially spots for 5 rookies.
Yeah, that's all depth because, like you said, should be set there for your starters, right? There's one other place on the offensive line. I think that's true as well, and that's the right tackle spot.
Yep.
Because yes, there's a starter and there is a backup in Noah Wiley. They brought him in to be that backup, but it doesn't mean that he can't play inside either. He's really a utility lineman. I think you have to have a true swing tackle as well.
Well, and Christian is probably that swing tackle that they have right now, but he's not guaranteed a roster spot. And so to me, I think that there is a spot, and I still don't know if Niang is going to play this year or at least be ready for training camp and ready for OTAs and everything else and ready for the season. Torn patella, that's pretty rough. So
it is.
Big question on whether or not he's going to be available, and availability is really his big question mark, because when was the last time he played a full season? 2019, 2018, maybe? He hasn't done it in the NFL.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. So that is a serious question mark. So we've gone through the offense and we have 6 of those spots gone already.
Yeah. And okay, so to be clear though, what do they need interior wise? I mean, you can make an argument, not starters, but depth.
They brought back Austin Ryder.
Austin Ryder.
He's your backup center. They've got Wiley that can play inside and outside.
Yep.
Especially if they fill
they're probably
the
good
tackle spot. There's your 8. Yeah.
So you're probably good at but you still are now at 6. And we've talked about all the positions on the offense. Now we get to the fun positional group.
Now we get to the Swiss cheese side.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start up front with the bigs.
Okay. So D end, obviously they have one starter in Frank Clark. Are you coughing to throw shade?
Excuse me.
Or are you just
sorry.
Okay?
No, that was real. Apologies.
Okay.
Wasn't just well timed, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it was. So Frank Clark is a starter, at least currently will be. I don't think they're getting any way out of that. So 2 edges at least.
At least,
yeah. I mean, Kando is developmental, so we'll see whether or not he's going to be somebody that can contribute this year. Dana is the guy that's likely to be the starter right now. That's not where you want to start with your DNs, so at least 2 DNs. Yeah.
And that's got to be a combination of the draft and free agency. I do think that there's still a free agent edge in this team's future.
Yep, me too.
I think you've seen him in a red uniform before, so I think it'll fit. But yeah, no matter what, 2 edges out of this draft, no matter what.
Defensive tackle.
Noddy, Saunders, Turk,
and Jones.
Could Herring go in there possibly? Yeah, obviously Jones. Could Herring go in there possibly? Is he truly an edge? Is he even recovered to contribute to this team? We don't know.
Right.
So I could say another DT, but I'll put an asterisk. I don't know that you have to right now if you're the Chiefs.
You don't
would, but I don't.
Right. You don't have to, but here's my argument when I start getting into the trade back scenarios that Kansas City could have. If you could find a way to have 3 or 4 picks in the second round and then have another 2 or 3 picks in the third round, you can really reshape this roster this season. And that's the type of player that I'm talking about with these types of picks. I'm not talking, 5th, 6th, and 7th round guys. I'm talking 2nd, 3rd, and 4th round guys that could potentially start for you at some point. So to me,
that's the joy of having 2 firsts. I mean,
right. So to me, if you have a situation where you can trade back at 29 or 30, and maybe you pick up a guy like Travis Jones,
or Logan Hall.
Yep.
I will say this: I think the defensive interior line is a pretty shallow group, as this class goes. To tell you the truth, but if you're looking, I don't know that you want to venture too far.
Yeah, but if you're looking at that type of position, you're looking for somebody that can get after the passer. That's what you're looking for, because that's not something you have other than Chris Jones.
Right. Absolutely. With you 100%.
So right now we're at 9. Just kind of plodding along, and we haven't even got to the linebacker position yet, and we will get back to those guys here in just a second. But I want to tell you about our friends over at Rock Auto. With ever-increasing numbers of makes and models, it's now impossible for your local chain parts store to stock all the parts you need. Why endure often pointless or seemingly intimidating questioning and wait while the person behind the counter orders the parts on their computer, choosing the only brand the warehouse happens to carry? Save time and money when using Rock Auto. Don't spend 30 to 50 to even 100% more for the same parts from a chain store or car dealership. Rock Auto is a family business serving do-it-yourselfers for over 20 years. Rock Auto prices are reliably low for every customer. They have everything you could need: brake parts, tail lamps, motor oil, and even new carpet for your car. Go explore their easy-to-use website today to find the solution to your auto parts needs. Go to rockauto.com right now and see all the parts available for your car or truck. Right, Locked On in there "How did you hear about us" box, so they know that we sent you. Amazing selection, reliably low prices, all the parts your car will ever need. rockauto.com.
So you say we have to talk linebackers, eh?
Yep, that's where we are. So
Nick
how do you
Willie
feel?
Gay and whom?
Well, I keep getting people telling me Jermaine Carter is going to be the starter.
Nope. He's a special teams player. He's a depth player. He's not a starting material player. I know he started for Carolina. I get it. This team starts 2 linebackers. And quite frankly, you got to start a Sam if you're going to put a third on the field. So if you're there, I think he is an emergency fallback if you can't get a linebacker in this draft. I do think that they want one.
Yeah, and that's where I'm sitting as well, and that's why I keep taking a linebacker in the second or third round, because if you watch the mock drafts, if you do mock drafts, that is where all the linebackers seem to go. It just seems that they're available in the second
all the good
round.
ones anyway, right?
So
there's 3 Georgia linebackers, a guy from Wyoming. There's all plenty in there.
Okay, so let's make this argument really quick. We've talked about the starters. What about a guy like a Ben Neiman type that plays that role for Kansas City? Do they have that guy on the roster right now?
No. His name's Troy Anderson. You can get him in 4th.
Okay. So is that 2 linebackers, or do you think they just need 1?
I think, honestly, they probably just need 1, and they're likely to get another veteran to maybe lead the way there. Could they go to? Yes. I mean, if you shift the linebacker core to enough that is coverage-oriented, athleticism-oriented along the lines of Willie Gay, then you start to be able to cover up some of your softer spots in both the front and the secondary, because you've expanded the middle ground, what you're able to do coverage-wise. I just don't think that that's what they want to do right now.
But it's possible, and they at least need 1 more linebacker to fit into a situation if they have to go to 3 linebackers, because defenses are forcing them into that type of scenario. And there will be some teams that do that, to make them play their base, although it's becoming more and more sparingly. So we'll just put 1 for the linebacker position. Moving back to corner. This is the interesting one.
Corner?
This is the real interesting one for me, because you can make an argument that they need 2. And some people would probably make the argument that maybe even they could use 3. I'm not going to go there, but I could easily see 2.
Who do you have right now? Tell me what you're thinking about. Who makes the roster?
Snead and Fenton are the only 2 guaranteed. Baker, I think, has played well enough. Beyond those guys, I'm not sure.
But do you have depth options? That's what I'm saying. Because I think that they might be able to fill out a 5-man corner group on the 53.
They may, but I still think they have to go and get somebody. I think that they're going to have to add a starter type corner to this group.
I certainly want them to, because I would like to see Fenton be your 3rd corner again. You don't want him to have to be one of your top 2.
Yeah, and Baker just hasn't stepped into the role like you were hoping that he could, and he hasn't done it yet. So to me, counting on him to do it at this point, I just don't see it. So to me, I could see.
He has shown flashes.
Yeah, he's shown flashes. Yeah. And maybe coming back from that broken leg is part of why it's just flashes and not full time.
Yeah.
But, to me, I think you'd be in a better shape if you got an extra corner. So let's just call it 1 for this position, even though I think you could take 2. Because usually Kansas City also uses corners for their special teams. So maybe you can get to 5, but they usually keep 6 at times. So something to watch there. Now, safety is another position that I think that we both probably agree that they could add to.
Yeah, I think they need to. With the loss of Armani Watts, you can't expect him, obviously, to come back. Zane Anderson's in-house. Devin Key's in-house.
Yep.
I don't think that either of them are ready to be on the field near the volume of snaps that Dan Sorensen was. So I do think that you have to improve the talent base in the safety position.
So 1?
At least. I think that's a minimum.
Okay, so let's put
and it's also you gotta differentiate between you're talking true safeties or you're talking hybrid guys like Dax Hill that can be a nickel corner or a safety for you, like the Tyrann Mathieu type versatility.
So for corners, I put 1, but I'm going to make it 3 between the corners and the safeties.
Okay,
3 total.
I can live with that. Yeah, I'm with you.
So that puts us at 13.
Ruh-roh. See, we only have 12 picks here, so we got to fix something.
My whole point in this whole exercise and the reason I wanted to have this conversation today is because this team has needs that I think that they can fill in this draft. If you have the opportunity to trade back and you get to a point where maybe it's not a reach to take a guy like Christian Watson. You know, some people are having him taking Christian Watson at 30, but a lot of people are saying that Christian Watson is a mid-second round guy. Okay, well, if you think he can be there at 37, 38, maybe you trade back to 40 or 42, and if you have to trade up to go get him, you trade up to go get him.
And that's the problem, is because on paper, that sounds very old on paper, but in evaluation based on film, even putting him as a second-round player is a stretch, but the athleticism is so overwhelming in his evaluation that I think not only we are elevating him to the top of the second, I think there are some teams desperate for that kind of athletic talent that might push him into the bottom of the first.
Yeah, and it's possible. And I'm not saying Kansas City can't take him in the first. What I'm simply saying is, well, okay, that's fine.
Bad idea.
Fair enough. I've seen a lot of people that I respect say that they could take Christian Watson in the first. Here's the key, though, and this is something that we talk about every single draft. The team has what do you think, 15 to 20 players that they give a first-round grade to?
I don't think that. Probably 17 at the max.
Okay.
More like 12 to 15.
Well, I said 15 to 20. So you're saying 17 at the max, so maybe 12 to 15. Most of those players are going to be gone by 22, 23?
That is my thought.
So at that point, you're taking a second round talent at the end of the first round at the best in your grading scale. So I think that's really what Kansas City has to look at here. And that's why I keep looking at trading back, because the value isn't there to pick up a guy that maybe you can get another guy that's very similar just a couple picks later and get an extra third or get an extra.
And it's not just trading back, because you're talking about compression, much like we talked most of last draft season as well, as adding those sevenths to move around, right? So taking what is now a wide range and compressing it here. So you're talking about picks 33 through 120. Those are your goals, to take 10, 12 picks. If you can squeeze them all into those rounds, you got to feel good about revamping your roster right now.
No, absolutely. And that's exactly where I'm going with this, because if I look at next year's contract numbers for the Chiefs, I'm trying to pull it up really quick. They do not have that many people under contract for next year. Let's see. 22 players under contract for 2023.
Yeah.
And they only have $39 million in cap space available.
Don't start. That's a whole different discussion.
No, I know it's a whole different. I get it. But you know where I'm going with that.
Oh, yeah.
My point is if you can go and revamp this team and get those guys, you don't have to have a starter at your second and third round picks. Would you like one? Yes. Can you get guys that are going to step in and contribute heavily in year one and start in year two? I think that's where their sweet spot is. And if you can compress all your picks in between 29 and 125, and you can find a way to get 8-9 picks in there, I think you're golden. And you can easily add those players to this roster.
Especially in particular in this draft class, because this draft class is fairly strong in every position that the Chiefs need, other than defensive interior. So that said, you can afford to double up at multiple positions, like we've talked about, especially when you look at it. The only safeties under contract right now, other than Reed and Thornhill, is Deon Bush. That's it. Now, we've talked about in the past, as we do our 53 bucks, right? And as we've talked about, as we do our 53 projections come this spring, And through the summer, we'll be talking about, do they keep 4 or do they keep 5? So they have at a minimum of 1 to get, maybe 2 at that safety position, like you said.
Yeah, and that doesn't even count into how many CBs do they can't keep, 5 or 6, because that goes into how many safeties they keep.
And I personally think that Boodle pushes for the roster this year, but that doesn't mean that he's ready to become a starter. It is, I think, a step forward to be a 53 guy consistently, and then he may be able to push past that.
And maybe he can become one of those star ace special teams guys that ends up becoming a starter in year 3, or not a starter, but like a sub package guy in year 3. That's potential, but there's enough places on this roster to add 8 or 9 or even 10 rookies, even more. Because what did we get to? We got to 13 rookies that we could add, and that's just being pretty generous. I still think you can make an argument that you could add another defensive tackle, because I do think that those 4 probably make it, but it depends on who is available in the draft. I mean, you got questions there.
Comes down to.
So,
and hopefully we'll have some answers as well. So let us know what you guys think. Is this enough? Do you buy that they can squeeze 12 players onto this roster out of this draft? Hit us with the YouTube comments. We'd like to know your opinion, as well as over in the iTunes and the Spotify reviews. We appreciate that. We're going to continue with these theories. Derek's going to be back tomorrow. We'll continue about where the Chiefs are and what they're doing. I don't expect a whole lot of movement, but you never know what might pop up. And if it does, we will have it for you as well. Until then, thank you for listening to us today. We'll talk to you tomorrow.